Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about how it is that you guys need to start writing your personal statements. So these are one of the hardest things about applying for a job as a teacher. You have to write your personal statement and you have to try and show off to your employer that you are the person they want to employ in that job. It's your first chance to put in a really good impression of yourself, and it's your kind of way to advertise all the great things you can do. Now, many teachers, and I was the same as all of these, have struggled with writing and how to write the personal statement, and it's a question I keep on getting a lot at the minute. And you will have seen that if you do follow me on Twitter or on Instagram, that I put out a question recently saying, look, there's so many people on Twitter that are amazing educators and amazing teachers and head teachers, and they have far more experiences than me in writing personal statements, in looking at them and kind of reviewing them, in helping people out and how to write them. And I just thought, actually, for myself, I might be able to give you a few tips of what I did, but I've only ever written one personal statement, and that's when I got my teaching job that I've got now. But there's people out there that look at them every week in terms of looking for different jobs, and there's people out there that have employed people by looking at the personal statements. And so I thought, you know what, we'll get their advice, say, look, have you got any tips? And thankfully, of course, Twitter especially is an absolutely amazing place for teachers to be on, because there's so many supportive people out there that want to help you out, want to give you advice, and that's what people did. I've got so many things to share with you now today. These are real teachers, real head teachers that have offered their number one tip on how to write, or loads of tips in some cases, on how to write a personal statement and the types of things they look for when they look at them. So hopefully this will help you guys, and if you are writing your personal statements, then just do your best, follow these tips, and hopefully you'll find the job that you really want in the end. Now, it's not an easy process, and I remember when I was writing mine, it was really hard, and I was going through the process of getting a job. It took me, I think, 4 or 5 attempts to find the job that I'm in now. And, I love that job. It doesn't mean to say it's the wrong job for me. It's exactly the right job and exactly where I want to be. But it wasn't my first interview. But I'm so happy I'm there. And so hopefully we can help some other people get into their first NQT teaching job, and we'll see where it goes from there. So these are my top tips, and I'm not sure there's going to be one video or whether I might run into 2 because I've got so much to share with you. But as I said at the start, these are not advice from me. I've not thought of any of these ideas. These are all ideas that people have told me, and I'm then sharing with them into one big video. I asked for ideas to share, so I will share a little screenshot with them, and on that screenshot you will see their Twitter handle. If you want to go and ask them for more advice about what it is they mean, then obviously please do that, because they're absolutely amazing people on there and they will definitely help you out. So like I said, these aren't my ideas, I'm just sharing them with you, but they are brilliant things, and I do stand by all of them that I've read and that I'm going to share with you today. So anyway, let's get into the first one. So the first piece of advice is from Emily Weston, and you can see it up on the screen there, and it basically is saying that don't have the same personal statement that you send to every single school that you're applying for. Now, it's natural that you're going to be applying for lots of different schools, but personalise your personal statements to each of those schools. If you've got one personal statement that you send to the same school, then it won't look as good, because it won't show that you've researched the school, it won't show that you've really looked into what they do, what their website says, how they run as a school, how they work, and it'll greatly put you kind of down in the pecking order in terms of the list of people that they want to ask for an interview for that job, because you haven't shown that you put that extra effort in. If you really believe that school is a school for you, then you should be willing to put in the extra bit of effort and the extra bit of personalisation. So have a look at the website and talk about things that you see in your personal statement. If there's something you really want to kind of push and you really want to work on, then say, look, I've looked at your website and either you've got a really good PE department and I want to be a part of that, or actually there's not really a lot of work you're doing in PE and so I really want to push that and I want to work on that when I start. This is something you can do as an NQT. There's no reason why as an NQT you can't have something like that, and it might be that you will ask how you can work with that. It might be that someone is kind of a mentor to you and shows how you can begin doing that sort of thing, but it's definitely something you can do. You can push an area of the curriculum or an area of your subject if you're going for secondary school. So definitely make sure you personalise your personal statement to the school you're applying to. Don't just leave it as one generic one that you send out to loads of different schools. This is backed up by this quote up here from someone called Becky, and she's a Year 6 teacher who's also the Key Stage 2 and the curriculum lead. And she said that they had an advert out for a job recently and they had 17 different applications, and when looking through them and looking at the kind of personal statements, they could have been for a job that was in inner city London or for rural Derbyshire. Now obviously those schools will have very different intakes of people, they'll have very different styles of teaching, they'll have very different ways of life really, because what you can do in an inner city school in London is vastly different to one in rural Derbyshire. So clearly some of those personal statements will not have been personalised to that school, and they're definitely going down the pecking order and wouldn't look quite as good. So please make sure you are personalising that personal statement. It's personal to you and it's also personal to the school. There's 2 ways of doing it, so make sure you do personalise it in both ways, because it'll be really important to the people that are looking at that personal statement that they can see, right, this person, it obviously means a lot to work here, means a lot to them to work at this school, and this is why. So definitely personalisation, key. So this advice is by CSK, who is a deputy head teacher in London, and they've said that you need to have a look at the job specification. Now this is really important. When you're looking at an advert for a teaching position, there'll be the job specification, which kind of gives you a few more details about what it means to be that teacher, what kind of role or person they are looking for. So have a look at this job specification and personalise your statement to that job spec as well. Because there'll be things in there that they might say, look, we're really looking for someone who is willing to be a teacher and be active in the PE department or active in the maths department if you're looking at secondary, or just looking at things like after school clubs or going on trips or that kind of thing in primary. So there could be all sorts of different things. You might be looking at leading a subject in primary school, as pretty soon, once you're in a primary school, you will be leading at least one subject. So have a look at the job specification and then use that in your personal statement. So if they're looking for someone to lead the computing department, then say, actually, I've got loads of really good computing skills. If you do, obviously, make sure you're telling the truth. But I've got loads of really good computing skills and I'm looking to become a computing lead. And I've seen in your job specification, this is something you're looking for. So as an NQT with a bit of mentoring about how to be a good subject leader, I think I could really do well at filling that role. And definitely talk about how you might want a bit of mentorship first to get to there, because that's something schools will definitely be providing you in your NQT or your early career teacher period, as it's soon to be known. But have a look at that job specification and see what they have said that they want and what you can deliver as part of your teaching role. This is backed up here again by Objective Ed, and they talk about how definitely use the job spec and write down the things that you can relate to in that and things you can help with. They then go on further to say, don't just write a list of what you've done, because everyone's done a lot of things in their life, but write down what you've done and the impacts of what you have done in that area. This doesn't necessarily have to be what you've done and kind of showing off. This can be even things where you had a go at something, you tried to create an impact and it might not have gone quite right, but then you've reflected on that and said why it hasn't gone right and how you've tried again. Or do talk about things that you've done well. This is a time to show off how amazing you are. So say, look, I tried this and it did work, and I tried this and it didn't work quite so well, but I've had another go. I've looked at why it didn't work and what I'm going to do next time. So show that you're a reflective teacher. So much teaching is about reflection and looking back at what you've done and improving it. So it's a really important skill to show off in this personal statement to show that you've got some of that. So definitely, I really like this point that you can show that you've looked back and you said, actually, yeah, I did have a go at that. Didn't work quite so well, but this time I can go on and have a go again. So I really like that. Having a look, showing off that you have got reflective skills. The last point there has been said by a couple of other people that I will put up on the screen at the minute, and they've said about getting the school name right, and things like a few others have said about using an English dictionary, not an American spell check. And it's just those little things that kind of make your personal statement pop, because they show that you've got that attention to detail. So it's quite easy if you're sending out 100 different personal statements to all sorts of different schools in your area, and you need to check every single one thoroughly, if it's the first one or if it's the 56th one, because those little details will be what straight away to actually look, that person hasn't put enough effort into this personal statement, so they're not going to be getting that job. They won't be getting on the short list. So make sure you're putting in those extra little bits of detail. Make sure you've got things like the name of the school right. You haven't copy and pasted from another one. Making sure you've used the right dictionary on your spell checker if you need it, so you've checked all your spellings and your grammar are correct. Just those little things that will really make a difference in your personal statement. One point I really like here that I think is really important is here by Miss Love of Learning, and she said about one thing that sets a personal statement apart is showing what you can bring to the school and what the school can bring to you. So there should be a reason why you're applying to that school, and there are many things schools can give an NQT when they're looking at becoming a teacher, such as training, such as mentorship, such as working in a certain environment, and all those things are really important, as well as what you can bring to that school. So like working in a certain curriculum area, it might be leading a certain subject eventually, but these two things should be interwoven. They should not be a standalone part. So if you are looking at becoming a great teacher, then that should be not only because you want to improve and you want to bring your teaching to the school, but because the school can also help you to improve as a teacher. They are two things that are interlocked, and without one, you cannot have the other. So make sure you are showing to the school not only what you can bring to them, but what they can give you, that you're going to be a willing listener and a willing learner to learn how to be an amazing teacher. Because after all, you are still learning, you are still an NQT. I'm still learning 3 years further down the line. I'm sure I will be for many years yet. So it's important to show that you're willing to listen and adapt and learn as you move through your NQT year. It's a really tough year, your NQT year, but I'm sure with a good mentor and lots of kind of hard work and knuckling on, you will be absolutely fine and you'll get through it. But make sure you're showing that you're willing to engage and willing to listen at this point. Now here from Miss Prescott, we've got a few different ideas, and she is a deputy head teacher, so she definitely knows what she's talking about. And we've talked about a few of these about kind of your vision and having the impact. But the ones I wanted to highlight here are things about being yourself and telling the truth. So there's lots of talk about personal statements, about bigging yourself up and showing off your amazing strengths. And I'm sure everyone that wants to write a personal statement does have absolutely amazing strengths, and you should definitely highlight them. But make sure you are being yourself and you are telling the truth, because there's nothing worse than turning up to an interview and being asked about something that you've said in your personal statement and suddenly realising that actually maybe you shouldn't have quite emphasised it that much because it's not quite the case. And it sets everything off on a bad foot. So make sure obviously you are telling the truth and you are being 100% yourself, because that is the best way to start a great relationship with a school and a great working relationship in a brilliant professional environment. So be sure that you are telling the truth and being yourself and showing how amazing you can be within the things you are comfortable doing. Don't go around saying things that you are amazing at or things that you can do if they're not necessarily 100% true, because it will come back to bite you, and clearly you don't want that to be the start of your relationship with your school. So be yourself and show how amazing you are without necessarily adding any colourful bits that might not be the case. So hopefully you found this a massive help, guys, and that is kind of all the tips that I managed to gain. There are a few kind of repeats and a few other little things. If you want to go have a look at my Twitter, I think it's my pinned tweet at the minute on my profile. So go have a look and read through of all those different bits of advice. And as I said, guys, these are amazing pieces of advice from amazing people that will offer help to all teachers that they come interact with. So do go and find them if you've got any more questions, or come and ask me and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you so much to those people that contributed to this, because I could not have put a list together that was this strong and this full and this complete without you guys. So thank you very much to all those people that helped contribute to this. And as always, guys, there's a new video on a Tuesday and a Friday at 5 p.m. So hopefully you're having a lovely Easter and you're having a brilliant time at home, relaxing and making sure you're ready for the next term. And I'll see you guys again soon.